Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. After years of waiting, ReZero, starting life in another world, has returned for a second season. The hype is through the roof for this brand new season of ReZero, and I'm finally glad that this time around I can actually talk about the anime series. I never had an opportunity to review the very first season of ReZero. In fact, I was very tardy to the party when it actually came to that anime series. I never watched it upon its initial viewing, and I didn't really even check on it for the very first time until pretty much last year. And I've been watching it with a couple of friends, and we managed to make our way through the first season just a couple of months ago. And I never had an opportunity to do like a full review on it. What I can say is, I love the series. I think it's incredibly unique. It's another sort of standard isekai series of a character in a normal, realistic setting being transported to a fantasy world, but it does have a really unique element of the fact that the main character, Subaru Natsuki, actually has this ability which allows him to die and go back in time and sort of reset things, allowing him to sort of like change the outcome of certain events. That and just the overall lore of this brand new fantasy world that was introduced to me was very unique. And honestly, even after the very first season, they never even scratched the surface. So I'm really glad that we're finally getting into the second season of the series, which pretty much picks up immediately after the end of the last one. And for people who are desperately waiting to see what's next, I have a feeling that you're probably going to dig this very first episode, which was an emotional roller coaster to say the least. And that's pretty much ReZero in a nutshell. It's the type of show that really tends to mess with the mind of the viewer. When it first started and I was watching it for the first time, I just thought I was going to be getting kind of like an isekai comedy action show, but it ended up being a lot deeper and a lot more distressing. The character of Natsuki Subaru has gone through a lot of shit. It's not just the fact that he's died multiple times, but the fact that he's had to relive so many nightmares and unfortunately even see some of his friends die and get lost in the process. And of course, I think the most popular character of the entire series is none other than everyone's favorite demon maid, Rem. And she happens to be a very important part of this episode. And unfortunately, it looks like she's not going to be around a lot this season. So I'm just going to assume that anyone who is watching this review is a fan of ReZero. You've been either reading the light novel series, the manga version, or even watching the original season. So I'm not going to spend this entire review talking about that. I really just want to jump right into this episode right here, which of course takes place immediately at the end of the last season, where you had Subaru taking on one of the archbishops of the witch cult, otherwise known as Beetlejuice, and we get to see a couple other members of his group make a big appearance in this episode. We get to see this very cataclysmic event where both Rem and Krush are actually suddenly attacked by two members of the witch's cult. One of them goes by the name of Regulus Corneus, and he is the Archbishop of Greed. And I'm not quite sure what his overall abilities are outside of being a giant douchebag, but he seems to possess the ability to use some sort of massive concussive force, but it also apparently has the ability to cut up all sorts of limbs, as Krush immediately gets attacked during this scene, losing an arm in the process, which, again, shocked the hell out of me. I didn't expect it to get that intense so damn fast. But the creep factor goes up to 11 when we are introduced to the Sin of Gluttony, who goes by the name of Lai Kaitos. And this guy's just disturbing as all hell. He looks like a freaking monster. He's got a giant mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. He seems to be incredibly psychotic, and he actually ends up battling against Rem. And Rem is fueled by love. She made it clear in the last season that she has fallen for Subaru and that she is going to fight for him no matter what, even if it means that he's actually in love with Amelia. She reveals her demon horn and prepares to go into battle with her massive flail, and we get a really slick action scene of watching her battle against both of these archbishops. Regulus, for the most part, just kind of hangs back while he allows Lai Kaitos to do most of the fighting. He has like these two blades that he uses, and he's able to go toe-to-toe with Rem, and you have to remember, Rem is powerful as shit. So these archbishops are definitely going to get even crazier as we make our way through the actual show here. But Regulus eventually decides to attack, allowing Gluttony to actually finish off Rem. Now, what's really disturbing here is that he doesn't outright kill her, but his overall ability allows him to consume the memories of anyone. Essentially so that when he actually does consume this, no one will ever remember that these people existed. They'll have no memory of them whatsoever. In a way, essentially erasing that character from existence, while also still sort of keeping them alive in some senses. I mean, Krush is actually able to survive all of this, and miraculously through the power of magic is also able to get her arm healed and return to her, but Rem, it's not the same case. No one knows who she is. She's just some mysterious girl who's appeared from out of nowhere who seems to have been damaged in this massive attack. And the only one who can seem to remember her is none other than Subaru, because of course they need to continue to torture his mind to the absolute freaking brink. When he actually does find her, he is just devastated and even thinks that maybe if he resets things back to zero and goes back to another point, that he will be able to save her. And he actually takes a freaking sword, jams it into his neck. The problem is, now when he goes back to the point after she actually had her memories taken from her. This is a really important scene because Subaru's ability to sort of reset things and go back and like try things over and over again, I always thought was kind of overpowered. But this is another one of those things where it establishes that it does have some negative effects to it, whereas if you go too far in, you're not going to be able to go too far back. So it's not like the end-all, be-all ability. So now he's going to have to find some sort of brand new way in order to get Rem's memories back. And I have a feeling that's probably going to be tied to finding Gluttony and somehow maybe forcing him to release those memories. I'm not sure how that's actually going to work. The magic in this series pretty much does whatever the hell that it wants to do, but yeah, I can't wait to see how all this is going to go down. But what is interesting is that while no one seems to remember that this is going on, they are aware that there is someone who has the ability to actually do this. So they're aware at least of the existence of Rem, they just have no idea who she is. They just have to sort of trust that Subaru is the one who is telling the truth, that Rem was a person, she existed, she had feelings, hopes, and dreams, and they have to do everything they can to actually bring her back. There's a great scene, actually, where Krush is actually the one who survived this big event, and she has no memories at all, and yet she still manages to retain a lot of her personality, which I think was great during this very tense scene where both her and Felix and Amelia and Wilhelm were actually talking together about this big alliance, and even though she doesn't seem to have her memories, she still has a lot of her same conviction, so it doesn't necessarily erase their actual personality, just who they are and who they could potentially be, and she seems to be fitting directly back into her role. I wonder if they're going to be able to do the same thing with Rem. And I do like that they at least acknowledge, at least Amelia does by the end of the episode, that Rem looks a lot like Rem. She's clearly the twin sister of that character. But it leads to what might be one of the most heartbreaking scenes of the entire episode, where Subaru is sitting next to the bed of Rem, and he's comforted by Amelia. And I love this scene because in the very first season, you know, Subaru was all about trying to save Amelia and doing everything he can to make things better for her, but now it's Amelia's turn to try and save Subaru, and it's a really, really tender scene of watching Subaru just sort of break down and cry, actually asking Amelia to turn away why he does this, but Amelia does end up comforting him, which again gives him that power to pump himself up and prepare to save Rem, to be the hero that she has been looking for. So, what's the rundown on the very first episode of the second season of ReZero? For people who have been waiting for this season, I can only imagine it's been excruciating. You see, I'm lucky. I only just watched like the entire season last year and just finished it a couple of months ago, so the wait for me was not as long. But man, this must have been bad, especially the way that things actually ended at the end of the last season, with very little resolution in terms of the character of Rem. There's no doubt that Rem is easily the most popular character from the series, the most popular female character at least. Even before I watched ReZero, I knew that there was something about this character which really appealed to a lot of people, and I didn't quite understand it until I watched the first season myself, and yeah, it's hard not to love Rem. She's a fantastic character, and getting to see everything she went through in the first season and getting to see her lose sort of all of it at the very beginning of this episode is nothing short of heartbreaking, and I really hope that eventually we will be able to get her to return to her former self and see her return, because man, she's best girl. I think one of my favorite things about this episode, too, is how it never really skipped a beat. It pretty much assumes you watched the first season and you know exactly what's going on. It is literally a continuation. It's not so much a season 2 beginning as it is literally just the next episode in the series. And luckily, just like the first season, it looks like it's going to have a lot of the same staff and voice work behind it, which I thought was very, very good in the last season. So I'm glad to see that it's going to continue with that, so that the series is going to continue to look consistent and really awesome. The intro introduction of two brand new characters, the archbishops of the witch cult, was really awesome, as they were of course teased a little bit at the end of the last season, but now we finally get to see two more members, and they're very different from Beetlejuice. They are way creepier in some senses, even though he's a villain that's going to be really hard to top in terms of how freaking insane that he was. But it's really clear that we're going to get to see a lot more of these guys and what their abilities are going to be. There's just so much more for the world of ReZero to actually get into, and I can only hope that after this season, we won't have to wait much longer for a third one. So yeah, I really liked this episode. It hit me right in the feels, right in the gut, and it's just got me so excited for the rest of this show. It's the Groundhog Day of anime series, but it's always really dark and twisted, despite the fact that the characters are so colorful and lighthearted looking. That's what I've always loved about ReZero, and I can't wait to see a lot more. So, I loved this first episode. Like I said, it felt like just a direct continuation of everything that I loved about the first season. So I'm going to drop a 5 out of 5 on this one. I truly loved this episode, and I would love to get your thoughts all about it. You can tell me all of them in the comment section below, and of course what you hope to see from the future of the next season of ReZero. Will Rem eventually return? Will she get her memories back? What do you hope to see from the other evil brand new villains who are going to be appearing in this arc? And what do you hope to see from the rest of ReZero? Sound off in the comments and let's talk about it. So there it is, my friends. Thank you for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like the video, please hit the thumbs up button. And of course, if you're subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that bell notification icon. It'll let you know when all of my videos are released. I also want to give a big shout out to all of my patrons who have been supporting the channel. You guys are incredibly awesome. If you guys would like to go the extra mile and support my channel to join this group, please do so. Check out my Patreon in the description box below. And if you make a small donation to the channel, I will review an anime series of your choice. I have a lot of Patreon reviews coming up, so make sure to check those out. I would really appreciate it, guys. So, that's it for today. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.